they're talking about can't find a girl, and they're on these dating apps, and they meet all these other girls, and you're like, what's she look like? Well, I wouldn't bring her home and introduce her to my parents, and she's missing teeth, and I'm like,
I built this thing from the bottom, they tore it down, I rebuilt it. I give myself a task, you can bet your ass I fulfill it. Yeah, man, I'm talking about Willis, one of the realest to try. My family, SOE.
127.
Pulling the Thread Podcast, episode 104. A little freer today.
40. 140?
Do you feel like you've been liberated? Do you feel like you've been let out of the camps?
I mean, you know what? It's not. The thing is not. Do I feel liberated? The thing is watching.
Yeah, it actually happened.
But watching all these fucking
liberals melt down.
Democrat liberals, their institutions just crumbling away. The fact, the reality, when you think about this, the night he was elected, that night of the inauguration, the federal government went around and shut down all their DEI stuff.
Changed all the websites and shit.
That's how quick that happened. Basically what they were saying, what you saw there is that's how meaningless it really was. Like, it was totally meaningless. It was just window dressing for people to think that something was really going on. That's how meaningless it was. And it's just, I mean, did you see that, what's his name from Pennsylvania, Mr. Shorts and
did you see,
sweatshirt?
Yeah,
he's suing The View. Like, he's going after, you have these
Fetterman.
Yeah, you have these fucking.
Fetterman. So I didn't watch it. I saw somebody talking about the tuxedo he showed up in. Do you know he showed up at the inauguration ball or whatever in fucking sweat shorts and a fucking.
Yeah, the reality is that's his stick. Like, the problem for Fetterman is the problem for Fetterman is that's his stick. That's the thing that he kind of pushed for when he initially was elected. So. He can't. Now he always has to show up that way. Like, he has to show up that way because people will be like, "What, did you sell out? What?" You know what I'm saying? He that's his stick. It's kind of like Pee Wee Herman. What was his real name?
I never knew his real name.
God, I just heard his real name, but it's kind of like Pee Wee Herman. He did that him as a comedian before Pee Wee Herman kicked off. He did all kinds of different characters. But then once Pee Wee Herman landed and that became the thing, like, that's what everybody wanted. He had to have that stick, and it was very rare for him to be able to get out of that, right? So that's kind of.
He's dead, right?
Yeah, he passed away recently.
I think his most famous moment was getting caught in the theater jacking off. But wasn't he in a jack-off theater?
Yeah, he was in a jack-off theater.
Like, we were telling the kids that. I go, something about in the shop, talking about Pornhub got banned in Tennessee, right? And he's like, you just got to use a VPN. I use a VPN. All these dudes were saying this, and I go, you guys have no idea, man. Like, to see porn when we were kids.
Oh yeah, it was a big.
They had theaters. You like, I'd never been in one, but I'd seen like pictures, or whatever. You have this perception. Everybody in there is there to see the same thing.
Like, the reality is, what most people don't understand is, we were just talking about OnlyFans.
Mm-hmm.
Back in the 60s and 70s, they had a version of OnlyFans. It was very popular in major metropolitan cities where a girl would be in a room, and it would be circular.
The windows slide up.
And the windows slide up and down where you would put the money in. That's all OnlyFans is.
When I was 13 years old, I was working on a construction crew, and we were in El Cajon, and we went to one of these places, and that's what it was.
There's only one in El Cajon, F Street Bookstore. This
wasn't an F Street bookstore. This was a bar.
Oh, was it?
And I remember the dude I was with, he's like, you want something to drink? And he bought I got a margarita. And I, like, even when we were hanging out later in the years, like, I didn't ever drink. If I drank a margarita, I'd always get it like half a shot of tequila or whatever. I had a margarita. And then he's like, go back, here's some, I think it was quarters or whatever, and you'd slide it in, or he bought tokens or what. He's like, just go back down in this hallway. And this girl, just like you said, she was on like a
little couch,
like a padded ottoman, just in the middle, and the door would slide up. There's still glass in front, and she'd come over and just kind of dance in front of you.
Yeah.
And that's how you had to go out of your way to see that shit. And I think that back then it was more valuable because it was harder to acquire. And now, like, pornography and sex, like, it's just fucking everywhere. And it's weird talking to the young, and I say youngsters, I'm talking to dudes that are like 20 to 25. And I'm like, they're talking about can't find a girl, and they're on these dating apps, and they meet all these other girls, and you're like, what's she look like? Well, you know, I wouldn't bring her home and introduce her to my parents, and she's missing teeth. And I'm like, they drove like 90 minutes to go meet this girl. And I'm like, why don't you just meet girls at Walmart? They're like, what are you talking about? I'll go, it's just sheer numbers. Like, if you're looking just to have sex, you could simply just ask girls, hey, I think you're pretty attractive. Would you like to hang out for a little while? You don't, like, you could even go way more vulgar than that, but it's just sheer numbers. 1 out of 10, 10 out of 100. And they're like, no, you'd get arrested for that. I'm like, you would not get arrested.
Yeah,
like,
you're not gonna get arrested.
Somebody, like, just nobody ever told them that. Like,
no, I think that we did that the, you know, over the last 10 years or maybe even 15 years, because we have been pushing this patriarch bullshit, right? Because for whatever reason, the left has been pushing this patriarch bullshit. You've basically trained generational, these boys, these soon to be men, or some of them are men now, but you've trained them that they can't do that. You've trained them that they cannot engage with women. But you've trained them that I cannot engage with women, but the algorithms on the phone has also taught them that the only place they can engage is in these sites where it is acceptable, right? And so that's why they go to the sites. That's why they're on the sites doing the things that they're doing, because in normal social world, we don't engage with women. We're not allowed to, because that's the patriarchy. They're supposed to engage with us. I think, you know, the reality is they need to go back to 1980s, and 5th grade, 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade, they need to force school dances again. They need to force kids to re-interact. They're not doing that in schools anymore.
You know, I never went to a school dance. I never went. I was never invited. I never asked a girl. I never went to a prom.
So, but I'm gonna tell you this, because I did the same thing.
I was super shy, and it was a dude, my friend Mike. Like, when I came home from juvenile hall, he's like, why don't you have a girlfriend? I'm like, she left me when I was in juvenile hall. And he's like, you can always fuck your ex-girlfriend. I'm like, what? He goes, ask her. You can always fuck your ex-girlfriend. And I reached out to her, and she's like, yeah, I was waiting for you to, and she did. She fucking came straight back over, and she had a boyfriend. And that's like, he told me a lot of things that were just like, no fucking way. And he's like, walk around Walmart.
But that's kind of what I was getting at is at my elementary school. Mm-hmm. So, you know, in Rio Seco and Santee.
So we didn't have them in elementary school. We did in junior high and high school.
So, at that Rio Seco, they had school dances. And the thing about those school dances is they were mandatory.
Interesting.
So I think they started in 5th grade and went all the way to 8th grade. And so they were mandatory. And I almost believe that they were during school hours. Like, it wasn't like come back at 10. And so you basically had all these kids who were forced into a situation, because it's a dance, where you have to talk to the girl that you thought was cute anyways, and you wanted to talk to. And so you were kind of forced into it. I think, as I remember back in those days, that I always had fun at those dances. But then once I got to high school and they became like not mandatory, right? So proms, and I never went to any of them.
What's cotillion?
Cotillion is a celebration of it's 16 years old, or
it's a dance, though, right?
Yeah, it's a cotillion
not a certain
dance.
religion or race. Or
I don't
anything,
think so.
right?
I don't think so.
I remember we had a co-ed dance in juvenile hall.
Yeah.
In Orange County, in juvenile hall, they had a co-ed, which I also didn't go to or dance.
I think they should, start bringing that back, but they have to get rid of all the
bullshit,
liberal teachers.
All the bullshit. Yeah, it's fucking bizarre, man. People have it's back to that thing when forums were a really big thing, and when Facebook was starting. we used to have these dudes talk shit on these forums, and I'm like, my friend, my friend, my friend. But if you really push all these people, they used to call SOE a cult.
Yeah.
And they're like, you guys are a
They
cult.
still do,
and
by the way.
Where?
That's weird.
They're like, SOE's a cult. And I'm like, okay, maybe we're a cult, but if you grabbed up 100 people out of this group here, and they fucking woke up like Saw, all in a room together, gassed, and now they're all awake, they would look around and have no idea what they have in common. If you snatched up 100 people out of our groups and our clients and our customers and all those people supporting SOE, and you snatched up 100 of them and they all woke up on a concrete floor in a garage somewhere, steel building, whatever, 80 of them would recognize one another. Like, they actually know each other.
That's the definition of a cult, John.
Maybe.
Just kidding.
But like on the lives, like the algorithm's starting to open up a little bit again. And apparently Trump, they just removed a bunch of shit as soon as Trump hit office. Yeah. So we're getting all these little weirdos, and they're like, what is this? Why are you all here? And my basic spiel is, I do this live every night where I talk to 100 of my friends. Like, we actually know one another in real life. And then 500, 600, 700, 1,000 of you, you come in and out. And some of you like what I'm saying, so you stay. Or you find the things here interesting, so you subscribe. And eventually you show up at an event, we know one another, and then we might do some business in some capacity, especially business to business, and we become friends. Most of our friends nowadays, out of the last 15, 20 years, we know each other because of social media and because of the internet. And we just said enough stuff that, you know, resonated with people that they showed up and we actually became friends. And look how many people have moved here to Tennessee because we're here or because James is here. And it's like, those are actually people that we know in real life. And a lot of people, when they use the word friend, they don't know each other. Like these kids, they on these, I've watched a couple of the kids in the shop just on these dating apps. And I'm like, even when we're sitting at dinner, you know, there's a dating app on Facebook. Facebook Marketplace has a fucking dating app. I'm like, what do you guys do? I'm like, are you guys texting each other? You're right here at the table. No, we're looking at these girls. I'm like, there's 12 little waitresses here. Why don't you just talk? Hey, come here. What's your name? Have you met this guy? Here's the name here. How about this guy? You know this guy? Let me tell you this about this guy. I know you guys are all on dating apps. This kid here, he works. I pay him. He makes a lot of fucking money. He has insurance. He has fucking 2 cars. He's fucking doing things.
They don't, like, but they don't, they're not allowed to do that.
Only because nobody told them they could.
Well, no, this is what I'm going to say the difference is it's not that nobody told them that they could. It's that they have literally been told over the last 15 years that they can't. They have been told that that is gross, that if they do go up to a girl, they're doing something completely wrong. Whereas, again, they've been told they can't physically go up to somebody and talk to them. But they've also been told that this is the way, that the phone is the way, that at that particular moment, if I just click yes that person is attractive, then that person is going to get a notification that's going to say, oh, he thinks you're attractive. Even in that scenario, when you think about how those dating app works, this person has to acknowledge your request, right? So even in their world, when they're looking at those girls, and let's say like with your thing where you're talking about 1 out of 10, they may hit 10 girls where they're like, boom, I think this girl's attractive. They may hit those 10 girls and get 0 responses, because the problem is the way that stuff works is those girls are actually looking for something that is not in their world.
Right.
That's not in their world. So they can't, we have created this system that doesn't work at all in the real world. Doesn't work at all.
Yeah, I've heard, I don't know.
Yeah, it's like girls are looking for, they're looking for the 10%, and they're not in the 10%.
Right. Yeah. They're.
But that's not it's not their fault. It's just that that's the way they've been conditioned.
Yeah. Women trade sex for love, and men trade love for sex. I don't remember, Tate or somebody, some big influencer was talking about that. You know, a dude who is somewhat in shape and has his shit kind of together, he will, especially on these dating apps, just run through chicks left and right, because those chicks are constant. Because he can date a little below his level and just run through them for sex, whereas these girls are constantly looking for somebody to keep them, and they don't have to. the guy doesn't have to keep those girls because there are.
Well, it's again, it's relative numbers, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's that thing. If I use I can't even, I forgot his name already. Hugh Hefner. I'll use Hugh Hefner as an example.
Good
right?
example.
Use Hugh Hefner as an example. Hugh Hefner doesn't have, like, the reality is the guy was a troll, but if 100 women every single day are gonna fucking come to your mansion and offer you whatever you want, you're gonna take it from as many as you can. Where the opposite isn't the same, right? So it's just a weird world. So if you are a, what is it they're all looking for? Over $100,000 a year, 6'5". They're all looking for this percentage of males in the United States that don't really exist, right? So if you're at the top of that tier, let's say you are 6 foot and you do make some money, the amount of women who are going to be putting yes on your thing is going to be astronomical. So why would any one of them be acceptable?
I wonder what, like, the catfish thing, like, how did we even get that term catfish? I know, like, wasn't there a show on MTV called Catfish or something? But you watch these, I'll just see them on TikTok or, Instagram. I'm really not on TikTok since, I don't know. I'm only on TikTok because you send me links to TikTok. That's literally the only time I'm on TikTok anymore. But you'll see these women, like just a beautiful woman, and she starts wiping her face off.
Oh, yeah.
And you're like, holy fuck. Like, or you'll see a 70-year-old woman go through this transition sped up in a minute or two where she puts her makeup on and puts her dentures in and puts this fucking clothing on, and she literally looks like she's fucking 25. But she literally looks like a witch when she takes the makeup off. Like,
and the crazy thing is, when you think about it, the crazy thing is, in their world. So in the world, because of the conditioning from the industry, because that's all industry driven. In their world, that is 100% acceptable. But anything equivalent in the man's world is not acceptable. Meaning, a woman would never accept that.
well, we don't have to. We don't have to pretend. Like,
yeah, but
younger,
they don't. The reality is women don't either. Most of that stuff that they're doing to their body at a young age, as far as makeup and everything, that's the reason why they look the way they look when they're 70. It's because of all the fucking chemicals that they keep rubbing on their face every fucking day, because the industry has told them to do that. There are plenty of women out there who have never fucking, go look at some old ass Amish women. They're still pretty. They're still beautiful because they haven't been rubbing fucking,
as a
bullshit
man, like, you always see this thing, like when a dude gets divorced and he gets a younger girlfriend or something, all the women will talk shit about him having a younger girlfriend. But as a dude gets older, younger women are attracted to him. It's not that he has to go find that younger woman. As he gets older, if he remains fit, even if he's not fit, look at how many older dudes, because you accumulate money, you have a surety of yourself, you've actually accomplished some things the way you move. Are you showing me? I have
something is.
And then it's not. You don't have to date within your age. The younger women will be attracted to you.
I think that. I think there's another thing there too.
What do you think it is?
No. I think what you said is true, but I think there's also another caveat on there. Is let's just say you're in your 50s.
I am in my 50s.
Let's just say you're in your 50s. And you're going to enter the dating pool.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is not necessarily age, because what happens is the problem becomes how jaded their perspective is. For whatever reason, a lot of older women, their perspective is very jaded about the world. Now, again, they're going to sit in their soapbox and they're going to say it's because women have done, or because men have done them so dirty, and that's why they are the way they are, because men have done them so dirty. But again, those men have also been dating women who've done them dirty. And so if all things are equal, chances are that the girl that is in her 30s is going to be less fucked up than the girl who's in her 50s.
Absolutely. And you also like
Less traumatized.
If you're 50 years old and coming back, like you've been divorced, right? I get that question quite a bit on live feeds and stuff. Dudes are like, my wife left me. What do I do? I'm like, go fuck her sister. Like, I say it kind of jokingly, but I mean, you'd get over it really quickly. But if you're 50 coming
Don't
back,
fuck her sister if you think you're going to be the
if you're ever planning to get back
next
with
Secretary of Defense.
If you're 50 and you're coming back in the dating market, and you go and you date a 40 or 50-year-old woman, she's coming with kids and grandkids and all kinds of other shit. If you can get a 30-year-old woman, there's a good chance you find a 30-year-old woman that doesn't have kids and doesn't have all the bullshit, and she's still physically fit. And if your sex drive is high, you're not going to break that chick like you would a 50 or 60-year-old woman. She's not going to come with all the aches and pains necessarily.
Yeah, I just think I think, you know, I don't know how we got on the dating app, but it's just interesting. It's interesting that that we stereotype a lot of stuff, and then in reality, it doesn't pan out the way you think it's going to pan out.
I mean, maybe I'm completely wrong.
I don't think you're wrong.
But I think
because
Amanda's like, well, that wouldn't work right now. I'm like, do you want to test that? Like, we can go to Walmart right now. We'll go to a town where we're not from, where nobody fucking knows us, and I'll just fucking talk to women. Give me 30 minutes. I'll talk to 12 women.
Amanda, don't. I've seen him do this before. Don't. Why did you up it to 12? Are you?
I don't know.
Are
Just
you?
a dozen? Let's go with Baker's dozen. 14.
Are you feeling a little rusty, John? I remember the number was 10.
No, but if you tell me I can't do something, we're going to go way above and beyond, right? If you want to make $1 million, you need to try to make $5 million because you're always going to fall a little short. But like, I'm very confident that this would work. I don't know. Maybe I say some inappropriate shit and I get arrested. I doubt it.
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think so. Because what's the inappropriate thing that you would say that could get you arrested? I mean, you may get into a verbal altercation with some crazy ass.
No, because I'm not going to talk to crazy ass
patriarch. That's not true. That's not true.
Those weren't crazy liberals, though. They were.
I know, but you didn't know. But
those were hairstylists.
Hey, but you didn't know that when you saw them. If you think about. Because that's the
actually,
thing
now that you mention it, I didn't know I was conservative or liberal back then.
But that's what I'm going to say.
Like, it wasn't a thing.
If you think, what I'm going to say is, if you think back to the 80s and 90s,
or even 2000s, early 2000s,
maybe even early 2000s, but there was no when communicating with anybody, whether it was a business transaction, whether it was a political association, was never on the table. You would have never went. I would have never went. That's a fucking crazy ass liberal woman. I'd been like, some nice purple hair. Let's go talk to her.
Yeah,
right?
if you were at McCabe's or Boar's Crossing or what was the other one over there, if you were in there, no matter what you were doing, you were there to fuck.
So I don't think that was ever part of the agenda. Now it's.
Like I never met a chick at a club. Not one time ever did I ever. Like, I met chicks at a club that I already knew, but I never met a new person. That's because
you never
at a club.
went.
I went with you several times.
No, you didn't. You never went.
If I was in a club, it's because some chick told me to meet her there.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's because you never went. Anyways, but I think that's a thing that we don't think about. Is it's all perspective. In those days, like the reality is, if you think about it. If you think about, and I'm going to use Amanda as an example from those days, okay? If you think about, like, if you were to take Amanda, and she's totally not this way, but if you were to take Amanda and you were to teleport her to right now, right? Teleport her to right now, in her broke down car at the beauty salon, automatically you would be like, that is the craziest liberal girl on the face of the planet without meeting her, right? Like, if you just looked at her, you'd go, yep, she's going to the pussy rally.
I don't think so, man.
If you think about the way her, like, because how many times did you have to push start that car?
She push started it. I never pushed.
I'm just saying. If you were to teleport, again, you're looking at her. You're looking at her from Amanda, and Amanda is not. By the way, Amanda is not a liberal. But what I'm saying is, if you teleported her to now, like, if you think about, I don't know, if you just think about, like, that wouldn't even have crossed our minds back then. Like back then, we wouldn't have like cruising past the beauty salon and going, "Yeah, ain't nothing but a bunch of crazy liberal women in there." You could literally say that now, but back then it wouldn't even have crossed our minds.
Back then it was just hot chicks.
Like we wouldn't even that.
Plus,
I think that's the other thing too.
We were younger also. Those girls were in their 20s, young 20s. Of course, they had broken cars.
No, I'm not dogging her car. I'm just saying it from a perspective of if you could just time portal
you're right.
to now, there would be a different, a different perspective looking at it. Because I would say this, in all that time, in all that period of time, I don't think I ever knew political.
No,
I don't ever knew political. What the political stance of
and
any
we were
of them
and
were.
we were always gun guys, right?
Yeah.
Any woman that I knew that I'd seen in person more than once or twice knew what business I was in because they're going to come to the shop, right? Where did I meet my ex-wife? She walked in the shop. Where did Amanda mostly come? To the shop. Any of the other girls came to the shop. So they knew that was gun business. There was guns around there. There was equipment. There was never a question of, oh, I don't like guns or...
I had,
I never saw any of that shit.
I had girlfriends that when they found out that I had guns, were anti-gun, like that they would be like, "Oh, I really don't like guns." But the crazy thing is, they would be anti-gun until I took them out shooting, and then once I took them out shooting, they would be like, "I don't know what the problem is."
And usually, when you have a woman that's like scared of guns or doesn't like guns. It's usually because some asshole dude, their dad or their boyfriend or brother or whatever, gave them some enormous fucking pistol or a 12 gauge, no ear pro. Like you see, you hear that story all the time, still today even.
Yeah, and then again too, that I think women are more susceptible to the propaganda of the news media than anything.
Sure.
So that does affect it too, right? They're scared of guns because they don't know, and the only place they get their information is from more people who don't know anything about guns. So I think that's part of it too.
Maybe so.
Anyways, we're getting banned for sure. All this feminine.
I think a lot of the band. I think a lot of the band shit just literally fucking changed the last 2 days.
I think YouTube is holding on.
A little bit, maybe.
YouTube's probably holding on, but I think again, like I said, I think what you're seeing is you're seeing the makeup of the liberal world just kind of melt off. And so I think a lot of those institutions are fucking done because they weren't real. That's the thing that most, like when you think about the gay community or real liberals.
But let's talk gay community for a second. Like gay community isn't freaking out. It's the fringes that have attached themselves to the gay community. It's not just a dude and a dude or a woman or a woman. It's the fucking craziness on the edges of that shit. It's all the trannies. Like I just watched a video. I don't even know how I ended up seeing it. There's a dude clearly dressed as a woman talking about how he's not going to have his right now to have an abortion. And it's a rite of passage to be able to have an abortion. And even though this girl can't get pregnant,
I hope that somebody does give him an abortion.
Like it's just bizarre. It's those wackos that are out there screaming.
I get it. That's the thing. But I think that what people are seeing is the thing that they're standing on their soapbox about isn't real, and all the institutions that they thought were behind them really were never behind them. It was just I don't know that
they really believed it. I think it's something they could do that was crazy enough that just got them attention.
I mean, it could be, but I think that's why the things are falling apart. That's why, like, when you have the most senior firefighter in LA County saying that
you got yourself in the wrong place if I have to carry you out.
That's somebody who is delusional. That is somebody who is delusional, and they're delusional. They're able to be delusional like that because the institutions behind them that don't have to do that don't care whether or not that person is successful or not.
Well, California will just keep doing it. I mean, just
I don't think they will.
No, I don't think
I
so
think
either.
I think this Palisade thing's, it's one thing if like I'll use Santee as an example because that's where I grew up, little middle class town. I don't know if it's middle class anymore, but if Santee would have burnt to the ground, the conversation would be completely different, right? But because it's the Palisades, and you have people like fucking Mel Gibson and Arnold Schwarzenegger, you have these people that live in the Palisades that have a lot of money that are now going, what the fuck was I paying all those taxes for if it wasn't to make sure you couldn't put out a little goddamn fire?
Yeah.
I think
Kamala Harris's $4 million home is fine.
I guarantee you that motherfucking Gavin Newsom, I bet he's sweating right now. I bet he is sweating right now because that's not, the thing is, it's not just whether or not they recall him. Because let's say they don't recall him. I mean, there's people talking about getting him recalled again. But it's not that. It's the thing that the Democrat Party cannot handle more than anything. They can't handle those people not donating money to the DNC. It's just like the scam they did for the fire, where they were telling to donate for the fire, and it was going to the DNC.
Yeah, it got routed through.
The DNC. They are a fucking money laundering fucking empire. That's all they are. The fucking Gavin Newsom don't give two shits about Californians. He don't care. That's why he's at a wine party in the middle of COVID with all his friends, and everybody else has to stay in their house. They don't give two shits about
how many times has he been to China?
Well, I don't know how many times he's been to China, but again, it's like, what example is, here's the thing. Mayor of Los Angeles. Where was the mayor of Los Angeles?
In China.
No, she was in Kenya.
Kenya. Doing what?
What purpose? Mm-hmm. What fucking purpose does that serve the constituents of LA? The problem with Democrats is when they get into power.
Isn't Kenya where Oprah Winfrey has her
one of her schools,
home for wayward women, where all these kids go missing and shit? Yeah.
But again, the purpose of being the mayor is to serve the people of Los Angeles. You want to go to Kenya? Go when you're not mayor. You want to go to fucking China, Gavin Newsom or whoever, go when you're not fucking the governor. Because all you're doing is selling influence. I think all those people should be fucking routed. And hopefully...
I think they're about to be routed.
Hopefully California is able to do it. But the problem is that in California, that machine is so locked on to the money that it's hard to break away from that.
All right. So anything that he's done surprised you yet now that he's been in office for 2 days?
Probably the op tempo.
Actually doing it.
The crazy thing is I don't even think the liberal media
can't
even catch up. Like he's just boom, boom, boom. Like he was fucking out signing shit way past 1 o'clock in the morning, and then the next morning, he bright and early at 8 o'clock in the morning, he's up. Like I don't even know if Washington D.C.'s ready for the op tempo that he's
coherent and fucking understandable.
Yeah, he is ready to motherfucking roll. So it's interesting.
I keep seeing all these pictures coming out, all these videos, people walking down beach lines and shorelines and shit
in the snow.
In California. Oh. And dude, there's law enforcement, white vans, fucking as far, like miles of law enforcement just fucking sitting there. And I'm like reading through the comments, and they're like, they're saying fucking Tuesday all the raids are starting, and they named off like fucking 20 cities where they're fucking snatching up and deporting people. He cited something, I swear it's from the 1700s. He cited some bill or something out of, I thought he said 1758, Illegal Aliens Act, whereas anybody who is not a U.S. citizen caught committing any crime will immediately, like, we're not even taking you to jail. We're like, you're going to fucking out of the country immediately.
It'll be interesting to see. I mean, I think he's gonna do it.
Any way they can stop him through the courts? Is there anything that can put a halt to any of this?
That's how the liberal hive mind works. Is it doesn't matter if they can stop him. Okay, so this is what you're gonna see. That's like Gavin Newsom when he was like, we're putting together a $25 billion fund to fight Donald Trump in the courts. Is the goal for them is not to stop them, because usually when the liberal mind goes into court, they're not going to win. They're just not going to win. The way they look at things isn't within the scope of the law anyways, and so they're usually going to get their asses whooped. That's not the goal. The goal is to get him in court and stall it for as long as they can. So, like, for example, if they could figure out some monkey bullshit to try and get a court case against deportation, right?
Yeah, but what if they just go, we're the fucking federal government, and what if they, like, the people they grab, what if they just deport them? Like, who the fuck's going to stop them?
What'll happen? This is what I'm talking about. That's the problem. That's not the problem, but that's how they work, in the sense of, all I have to do is get a court case going, right? And so I get a court case going that says some weird shit about deportation. And then they get the court to rule that there's going to be a stay on deportation until the case is finalized. They may go 3 years, argue this in court for 3 years, and at the end of the 3 years, they're like, yeah, your case, it doesn't hold water. The president can deport whoever the fuck he wants, right? But guess what didn't happen for 3 years? The policy is not in effect for 3 years because there's a stay. It's kind of like when a good example is what we did with the pistol brace, right? We sued the federal government. The 2A community sued the federal government about the pistol brace because the ATF doesn't have that authority. The court gave a stay of execution. So the court was like, okay, ATF, you can't enforce this until this case has been heard. So any enforcement that they wanted to do for the last year and a half, they haven't been able to do it because they had a stay of execution. That's kind of what, like when Gavin Newsom says he's going to fight Donald Trump in court, Gavin Newsom, first off, does not care how much money he spends because it's not his money. It's the taxpayers' money. But first off, he started this fund to fight Donald Trump without any idea of what he was going to fight Donald Trump for. So what they're going to do is they're going to look for ways to get policy stayed through court cases, whether they win or lose. Because I mean, like, think about the how many billions of dollars the California legislators have wasted on assault weapon stuff, even though they knew that they were going to lose. They keep putting that stuff forward when the court of the land has already said that those are unconstitutional. They're going to do another one. So what they're doing is creating that stay. So over that time period, nothing gets done.
But what's keeping them from just doing it anyways?
Well, okay, so that's the problem, or not? That's not the problem. That I think that is the good thing about this country, is
they still have the semblance of belief that the court system matters.
The law of the land is very important, and the court system, the reality is, without the twisting of it from one side or the other, that law of the land is the only thing that keeps everybody from eating each other.
If you catch up an illegal, raping or murdering,
yep,
and you take that motherfucker right then and you put him in a helicopter, and you take him out over a fucking massive body of water, and you kick his ass out in the fucking body of water.
Yeah.
There isn't going to be any fucking court trial. There's not going to be any stay of anything.
Yeah, because there's going to be a court trial because there's probably a pilot in that helicopter. There's probably a co-pilot in that helicopter. And there's probably 9 people on the ground that saw you take that guy and put him in the helicopter. And then 2 days later, Fish and Game finds him floating in the fucking Kentucky River.
So maybe people should just take when they capture somebody in the process of a crime, just handle it right then on their own.
The problem is you're looking at it from one side. Okay, you're looking at it from the side that you believe is right. Now, you have a total polar opposite in this country that also has an idea of what they believe is right. If everybody decides that the law of the land no longer exists and we're just going to do what we believe is right, that's how you get a civil war.
Well, that's still coming.
No, it's not.
You don't think so?
No. I mean, there is, first off, the Democratic Party, let's just forget about liberal or not liberal. The Democratic Party is in serious fucking trouble because they spent the last 4 years lying to all their constituents. They've spent the last 4 years spending DNC hard-earned money on bullshit. Like they've just been redistributing wealth, right? When you pay Beyonce $4 million to show up and just be like, vote for Camilla, bow, I'm out. The people at the grassroots, the $2 donators that were hoping that the Democratic Party was going to save America, they're not coming out next time. They're not fucking giving the DNC $2 so they can make Oprah Winfrey rich.
I don't think they came out this time.
They did. They're not doing it. And so the Democratic Party is in deep shit. If Trump is even moderately successful, let's say he gets 50%. I'm going to say 50%. Let's say he's 50% successful, and the deep state does not get us into World War. Even if they get us into World War III, that doesn't ensure that the Democratic Party is going to be coming back. But let's say he's moderately successful over this presidency. So 50% of his policies go into place and they work. J.D. Vance will be the next president. And J.D. Vance will be the next president twice. So that's 12 years of Republicans moving forward. I mean, the Democratic Party, the liberal side of this country, is in deep shit because their policies don't work, their ideas don't work, their politicians don't work.
Have you heard anything about Kash Patel? They haven't even had that hearing yet to put him in place.
I hear it's almost a done deal, though. I mean, a lot of them are like even there's been some last minute Hail Marys by the Democratic Party to get Hedgegrove, Secretary of Defense, to get him thrown out, and they're like, it's the apparently the holdout Republicans.
Yeah, did you see him with Pocahontas? Would you say a general can't? He's like I'm not a general.
She should not. Like, the reality is she shouldn't even be holding that office because of what she did to get tenure and all that. She lied. She fucking basically lied and stole a position. She should be fucking ousted. But you know what? The Democrats don't care about truth. The Democrats don't care about equality. They don't care about any of that shit. They just care about stealing. That's all it is. That's all she did by pretending that she was a fucking Native American in order to get the positions she did, because she only got them because she was saying that. Mm-hmm. To get the position she did was the thing that put her in the place that she's at. If you take that initial lie out of the equation, then she is not sitting where she's sitting. So I don't know why that state has not fucking fired her. You know why? Because Democrats don't care about the lie. They don't. They will let you do anything to them as a constituency as long as you pretend that what they're saying is right. That's it.
Department of Government Efficiency.
Yeah.
Have you heard these numbers? They said that they found federal employees, less than 6% of federal employees work a 40-hour work week. Have you heard those numbers?
I've heard them before.
Less than 40.
Yeah.
Now, Trump signed something yesterday, day before, that said all federal employees have to work in present. There is no more remote workforce. If you do not show up to work, you are terminated immediately. Their goal for the first 90 days is to fire 500,000 federal employees. They said federal employees, there's 3.5 million federal employees, whatever this body that they're talking about. The first 90 days is to fire 500,000. Their goal the first year is to remove 1.5 million.
Probably a lot easier than people think.
Yeah, Vivek said we'd come in and we literally just go, we just go by social security number.
Well, I mean, you
odd or even, you're fired.
But I see, I think his idea is very, his idea is very draconian in a sense, maybe. I mean, I guess maybe that would be a fair way to do it. But you're going to see, at midnight of a Donald Trump's inauguration, you're already going to see.
They're already they're doing it in.
But what I'm saying is, you've got to be already in the 100,000 employees because the Secretary of State, they got rid of it was advisory, some fucking crazy ass advisory committee. So there's people that are fired. All the DEI places are being closed throughout the federal government.
They're changing all their resumes. They're changing all their job
So-
listings right now. Did you see Trump said that that 80,000 IRS agents? He said he's going to redirect them and put them working on the border.
Well, I mean, they do have guns, so
Can you fucking imagine that?
yeah, it's not going to work out very well.
Well, they're number one. They're not going to go.
Yeah, they're gonna
But
quit.
they are going. Yeah,
they're going to quit.
yeah. That's exactly.
You know,
Did you say? He said abolish the IRS? So I didn't actually. I never could find that. I saw people saying he said abolish the IRS, and instead of an internal revenue, we're going to have an external revenue service for tariffs and taxes on importing items. Right?
the IRS won't. The IRS won't get abolished.
Now, did you see him say
It might get reduced. But even if he does what he Trump is going to do a classic military thing. Trump is going to do a classic. I hate this thing. Trump is going to do a classic military thing where he's gonna reflag. So he's gonna like, for example, when I was in 19 best infantry battalion the Marine Corps has ever had. Not the 2000s 19. I'm talking about the 90s 19. But he's going to do what the military does is they're going to reflag. They're going to be like, okay, 19, you are now 2-1. And they're going to pass the flag around, and then they're basically going to be like, they're going to go to Congress and be like, we just got rid of an infantry battalion. 1st Battalion, 9th Marines is no longer an infantry battalion.
so? But it still
They just changed the flag.
Got it.
Right. So all the guys, all the guys standing in formation with their 19 t-shirts. They don't when they change the flag. They don't like. All right, you guys are dismissed. Here comes the new battalion from SOY. You guys can all go home. No, they just like. Sergeant Major says you asses need to get to the PX and buy the new 2-1 shirts. That's all. You're just changing shirts and shit. You don't get to wear the black fucking running shorts anymore because you're not the best battalion in the Marine Corps. So that's all they do. And that's what Trump is going to do. I am sure that there is going to be a reduction in IRS agents because if he does what he wants to do, meaning national sales tax, you have a national sales tax.
So he's rolling out the idea of 20% flat tax.
National sales tax,
Which
so you
means
don't have
no more income tax.
Correct. No more
Which
income.
means you don't need fucking IRS anymore.
You'll still have, again, you're still going to have the IRS. They will rebrand it as something else. They'll call it something else, but they'll still have the IRS not being used in the manner that it is used today. But again, you'll still have an administrative body that will be responsible for collecting those taxes, because even a 20% flat tax
right,
has
but
to be collected.
They won't be up our asses. They'll be talking to fucking.
They'll be talking to. Well, they'll be up your ass. They'll still be up your ass because you're a corporation. You'll still have to pay that tax.
So actually, in a lot of manners, we don't have to pay that tax. The automated system actually collects that tax. I saw
So you can,
Shopify started doing this crazy shit now on my when we print out invoices, there's 5 or 6 taxes. Like in California, there's a California tax, there's a fucking there's a state tax, there's a county tax, and then there's a city tax. Like if you're in California, you're getting taxed 3 times to buy shit that ships into fucking California.
It's totally ridiculous.
Yeah, we don't actually collect that. Fucking the program collects it and sends it wherever.
It's ridiculous from this perspective. If you as a citizen, so if you live in the state of California and you're paying your property taxes, you're paying your homeowner taxes, but you're also paying 3 other entities' taxes based off of that. That's the ridiculous part. Now, if you weren't paying those property taxes, so if you didn't have to fucking fill out your paperwork at the end of the year and send the fucking state a check based off how much money you made, if you were just paying a flat sales tax, then those other entities would be okay in creating some sort of tax. But since you're already paying your taxes, you shouldn't have to pay any of those other ones. So a flat tax would be perfect. I think go to a flat tax, and then I don't even think. Here's the thing, I don't even think a flat tax I don't even think a flat tax is right. I don't care how you collect taxes. I don't care how you assess or collect taxes. But I do think that no matter what, the federal government, the state government, the city government should have to account for every fucking penny. They should have to account for every penny in a manner that is totally understandable. So again, like for example, if I'm giving $20 million to the fire department, I don't need lesbian weekends at the firehouse. I don't need to sponsor and pay for that. If they want to have, I don't have a problem with lesbian weekends at the firehouse, but then you know who should pay for that? The lesbian community firehouse. They should pay for that, not taxpayers.
Yeah.
I shouldn't have to subsidize any of that bullshit. The only thing I should be subsidizing is the actual thing that you're telling me that I'm paying for. And the thing about California is so corrupt that they, like, you know, when you think about the fuel tax, right? The fuel tax specifically was levied for roads repair. And they manipulated that and completely changed the rules on it, so it goes into a slush fund. It goes into a slush fund, so the governor has the discretion to spend it on whatever he wants. That's fucking bullshit. That is 100% bullshit. The governor should not have... There shouldn't... No city, no state, no county, nobody should have a goddamn slush fund.
Right.
Every dollar should be accounted for.
It should run like a fucking legit business.
Yeah, it should run... yeah, kind of like a legit business, but again, the difference is... I'm paying for a specific service, so that specific service better goddamn work. Mm-hmm. And if it doesn't, people should be fired. I've
seen all these posts in just mainly the local groups here. We've got a couple of Trump derangement syndrome people, and I'm in a couple groups in Kentucky and stuff. And the common post right now is he's so busy freeing the January 6 criminals that he can't lower the price of eggs. Like, Trump doesn't lower the price of eggs. Gas prices, farm prices, like, and you motherfuckers just burnt down all the egg fucking farms.
And here's the thing about Trump derangement syndrome. About when you talk about January 6th, criminals have a legal day in court. Criminals are charged with a real crime. Criminals are prosecuted and sentenced.
Do you know who else? Biden.
January 6 individuals were not, none of those things were afforded to them that are required under the Constitution. The fucking Supreme Court said the law that you're using to hold the January 6 people is unconstitutional. You cannot use it to hold them. They still held them. Everything they did with the January 6 people was completely fucking illegal.
Do you know who else Biden pardoned on the January 6 shit?
Who?
The fucking dude that shot Ashley Babbitt. Pardon that dude. Blanket pardon. Never convicted, never fucking nothing. So Trump said, free the January 6 prisoners.
Yeah.
Do you know Bowser or whatever her name is over there?
Yeah.
You know, she tried to block that shit. Yeah. They wouldn't free him. You know that the U.S. Marshals went in and physically. Yeah. Do you know that they removed a bunch of the fucking January 6 prisoners? Or we were told they were January 6 prisoners coming out on stretchers and gurneys?
Yeah.
Maybe. Or maybe those were fucking people that got into conflict with the fucking U.S. Marshals.
Maybe, but here's the more important thing. The more important thing is we have created a world that the liberals have created a world where lawlessness is acceptable, where lawless behavior is acceptable. Meaning, if you're BLM and you want to burn your city down, the Biden administration or the Liberal Party decided that that's okay. That lawlessness was acceptable because of some transgression that no one ever committed against those people. Lawless is acceptable. That's what the Democratic Party champions is. Lawless is acceptable. The Republican Party needs to champion, which we are kind of starting to, that there's no acceptance of lawlessness. Not only when I don't know if any of this has happened or not happened because we haven't really heard what's going on. But the U.S. Marshals should have not just freed those political prisoners, which is exactly what they were. They should not have just freed those prisoners. they should have also arrested every single person that was providing the necessary institutional devices to detain them.
Interesting.
They should have also arrested them for violating the law, because that's what they were doing. They were violating the law because some politician that will not be held accountable told these individuals to do the thing that they were doing. The U.S. Marshals had to be sent in. They should have arrested them. And when they arrested them, they should have took them in and be like, why did you feel like you were violating? Why did you feel like it was necessary for you to violate this court order? And if they said, because fucking Boo-Boo LaFoo-Foo at the governor's office told us to do this, then the U.S. Marshal should have went, thank you very much. Are you willing to testify in that court? You're willing to testify in that court? Then they should have drove right on down there and they should have arrested their fucking asses.
Imagine if they'd have just arrested Bowser.
But that's what I'm saying, right? If they
set that precedence on day 2 and arrested that bitch, imagine how fucking different all the other engagements would be. Military tribunals. Have you heard that there's about to be, or there is happening currently, a bunch of military tribunals that are taking place on Guantanamo Bay? It's where they're happening.
So
how big is Guantanamo Bay?
It's not super big. It's kind of small.
Is it bigger than Catalina?
You mean the sub-base at Catalina? It's definitely bigger than the sub-base at Catalina. It's a full naval yard, but it's not super big. I actually used to know the square footage because
I think they keep expanding it somehow.
No, it's a steady footprint. Well, okay, I take that back. Since Castro's died, maybe they have expanded it.
Is it attached to Cuba?
Yeah, it's
not its own island.
Yeah, that's the crazy thing that a lot of people don't understand is the whole time, like when you think of like the Bay of Pigs, when you think of the Bay of Pigs, or you think about the Cuban Missile Crisis, the entire time the U.S. Navy was on the island of Cuba. There were Marines on the island of Cuba guarding that fucking facility.
Interesting.
The entire time
during the Cuban Missile Crisis. What was Russia's footprint? Like, how many Russians were there?
I would assume that during the missile crisis, when the Russians were actually bringing the equipment to Cuba, that you would have had it would have been very light as far as personnel goes. It would have been a light footprint. It would have been, you would have had guys. They would have sent technical advisors, people that were familiar with the equipment, in order to train up the Cubans on how to use the equipment. It would have been a light footprint because you wouldn't want the exposure, right? Because at the time, remember that at the time that was the Cold War, and so we were both poking at each other at the same time.
And were we poking? Were we sparring with Russia, or were we sparring with Cuba?
No, at that time it would have been the Soviet Union. So Cuba was a communist country. And we were sparring with the Soviet Union, and it was, I believe it was Nikita Khrushchev at the time. I might be wrong. I believe it was Nikita Khrushchev at the time. And we were sparring with them. And again, history is told from your perspective, right? It's told from your perspective. We were like, oh God, you can't put missiles in Cuba. That's so close. It's in our back door. The missiles going into Cuba was a direct response to us putting missiles in Poland.
Interesting.
or not Poland. Where was it? East Germany. It might have been Germany, or it wasn't Poland. But basically, our missiles. The reality is, our missiles were closer to the Soviet Union than the missiles would have been in Cuba.
Nowadays, couldn't we just remove Cuba? Like, if some shit happened in Cuba like that, and they made some threats.
Well, I mean,
within a matter of 20 minutes, we could just fucking evaporate Cuba.
The reality is, even at that time,
we could have.
Even at that time, we could have totally removed Cuba out of the equation.
Why did we not?
Because of the implication of World War III.
Okay.
Right at the height of the Cold War, what a lot of people don't know is both the United States and the Soviet Union had a fucking ridiculous, crazy amount of thermonuclear weapons. Like, we had the reality is, when people talk about we could have destroyed the world 10 times over, between the two of us, that's exactly the truth.
So there are nuclear weapons in Poland that the United States has control of. Did you hear that right before Biden left office, they gave control of those nuclear weapons in Poland, no longer in control of the United States, but gave the control to NATO? Did you hear that?
I don't know if that's true.
Okay.
I don't know if that's true. I don't know if we would hand over.
I saw that reported several places.
I don't know if we. The reason why I say I don't know if that's true is because there are NATO there are NATO countries, or there are countries within NATO that have homegrown nuclear weapons programs and their own nuclear weapons. So us handing them, I mean, is it possible that we just fucking were like, okay, you can have these motherfuckers? Maybe, but the reality is the Germans, like if the United States was like, okay, fuck it, Germany, we're not gonna have troops here anymore. We're gonna pull out. You guys are responsible for your own recovery. We're not like it's not like the Soviet Union. We wouldn't leave nuclear weapons there. We would bring them back because Germany has their own. So I don't think we would give Poland because again, there's this geopolitical thing that's going on over there right now. Like France is talking about pulling out of NATO. Great, France. But there's this geopolitical thing going over there to where if, let's just say Poland, let's say we decided that we were going to pull weapon systems out of Poland, or we're like, we're going to leave nuclear weapons. Because of the way the European countries have screwed NATO up, like they've fucked NATO up, really. They've screwed it up. Because of the way they've screwed NATO up, the NATO countries would be arguing over who would provide those weapons to Poland. Not, hey, America, thanks for keeping us safe for the last 60 years. They would be fighting over, it should be Germany, or it should be France, or it should be whoever the fuck.
Have you seen the Prime Minister of Poland? Have you seen him speak?
I mean, not really. I don't pay attention to it because Poland is very ultra right wing.
So what he says is, we don't let Muslims in our country. Mm-hmm. We don't have crime. We don't have any of the sexual
they don't have the problems
stuff. We don't have any of the fucking problems
that everybody else has.
Everybody else is having and he says the one thing, and the one reason why, is because we don't let those other people into our country.
I mean, the reality is, I think I understand. I understand where they're coming from when they're talking about that, but to point out a specific thing just has to do with the region that those people are coming from, right? So let's say the world collapsed. Let's say the United States collapsed into total chaos, right? We become a third world country, and Americans start fleeing the United States to immigrate to Europe. Poland would probably have the same stance with Americans because, again, those people that would get there would be the first wave would be criminals anyways. Would be the criminal element anyways. So, there's actually a pretty good. I don't know who he is. He's either from Saudi Arabia. He's from one of those more upper class Middle Eastern countries, and he's talking about how everybody keeps pointing the finger at Muslims, like they keep pointing the finger at the religion, and he goes, but the reality is we do not have those problems in our countries because we are exporting the problems to your countries. You're the ones that are accepting the people that we won't accept here.
Got it.
It's not the religion that is the problem. It's the individuals that you're accepting, right? So that's the issue.
And they just happen to all be Muslim. So I see what you're saying.
You know what I'm saying? It's that part of the world that's falling apart right now, or has always really been falling apart, but it's that part of the world that's falling apart, and those people are immigrating into Europe because Europe is allowing it.
So back to tribunals. Do you think we're about to see some military tribunals?
The question becomes Guantanamo Bay. I did recently see a reporter who was talking about, I'm here at Guantanamo Bay and I will be here for all these trials. So a military tribunal would be held at Guantanamo Bay anyways, because those are the people that we're holding there are considered enemy combatants. Now, truth of the matter is, We're holding him in Guantanamo Bay. The truth of the matter is we're holding him in Guantanamo Bay because
We can't.
rightly or wrongly, it depends on how you stand on this. I mean, I think wrongly. We're holding them there because they're political prisoners. They are political prisoners. They are not, even if again, they can be the most terrorist motherfucker in the world. That's what the court systems are set up for. They should have their military tribunals. They should convict them of whatever crime that we assume that they've committed against the United States, and then they should be in jail. We're holding them in Cuba so we don't have to do any of that stuff, really. And so the court system that is in Cuba is a military tribunal anyways, because that's how we are technically going after these terrorists.
So you don't believe that politicians or military personnel from the United States that went after Trump or did all this criminal shit over the last 4 to 8 years, you have the belief that none of those will be on military tribunal in Guantanamo Bay?
I do not believe...
Because that's how they're making it sound.
Yeah, I don't believe that...
Would we know?
That seems very extraordinary to think that, like, we'll just pick somebody. I don't know, Ted Cruz. That Trump's like, you committed treasonous acts against the United States. I'm going to have the U.S. Marshals black bag your ass and fly you down to Cuba, and we're going to use the military tribunal in Cuba to convict you of a crime. Or convict you of said crime. I can't even understand. I couldn't wrap my head around the circumstances where that would even be necessary. Like, if the reality is, like, if he wants to go after Warren for all the lies that she's told about her Indian heritage, he can do that all here in the United States. He doesn't have to. We don't have to fly her down to Cuba and have a military. You could convene a military tribunal anywhere.
Maybe the court system can't stop it if it's done outside the United States?
Well, the court system, so the federal court doesn't have, is that right? Federal court? So, again, a military tribunal is outside of the...
So you think it's just sensationalism? It's just clickbait?
I think it is just clickbait. I think it's just people... I think, here's the thing. When Donald Trump met Joe Biden before the inauguration, so this is before Joe Biden pardoned his entire family for crimes that we are not aware that they committed.
Which actually happened while Donald Trump was being sworn in.
But Donald Trump specifically told Joe Biden that there was going to be no retribution. That he wasn't going to do the same thing that the Democrat Party has done for the last 8 years. He wasn't going to go after people politically motivated. Okay, so he said he wasn't going to do that.
But if they're committing crimes, it's not necessarily politically motivated.
But again, remember, he said he wasn't going to do that. Okay, so he told Biden he wasn't going to do that. Now, the reality is, if you're Joe Biden, you can't trust that Donald Trump's not going to do that, because why can you not trust that Donald Trump's not going to do that? Because you just spent 8 years doing it. You've just spent all this time. It's like the cheater. It's like the cheater who instantly believes that his or her spouse is cheating on them because they cheated on them, right? Oh, that's where the Biden administration is. They automatically assume that Trump's going to go after him. Now, if you just look at history, Donald Trump didn't go after any of the people that everybody said he was going to go after when he was elected the first time. Hillary never got, nobody poked the Hillary Clinton dynasty, and he didn't go after any of those people. So, again, I don't believe that Donald Trump is going to go after any of them. Now, that doesn't mean that if a prosecutor within the Department of Justice gets evidence that someone in the family has committed a real crime, that they wouldn't go after him for that real crime. There's a difference between politically motivated, which is what they did to Donald Trump. Every case that was against Donald Trump was politically motivated, versus I actually broke the law. Like, the reality is, for example, just give you a good example. when we talk about the classified documents case. Donald Trump was never going to be prosecuted for classified documents at Mar-a-Lago. He literally could have been driving down the freeway, throwing classified documents out of his fucking car as he was driving down the freeway. The President of the United States is the holder of what is classified. He's the holder. Only the President of the United States. So he can do whatever the fuck he wants with whatever classified information. Like, like people talk about, oh, he might have had missile codes. All that was clickbait, because the reality is, even if I had the missile code, as President of the United States, I am authorized to have those things because I am the goddamn president. I can have those missile codes, but the reality is, even if I have the missile codes in my hand, like I have today's codes, and I hand them to you, those codes are fucking useless to you. Right. There's not a goddamn thing you could do. You're just going to be like, I can't believe that the password is 0000 password. That's crazy. There's nothing you can do with it. It doesn't, you can't, right. Subs aren't going to line. There's nothing you can do with it. You can't read it over the radio and get something to happen. It's not going to, there's nothing that can happen with those codes. So, again, Donald Trump, the federal government went after Donald Trump for classified information. Does not matter, even if it was national security. Like they'll say that a lot of times. They'll be like, oh, but it was national security. He's in charge of national security. He decides whether something is can be classified or not classified. If the President of the United States, for example, because they'll use like they'll throw shit out like, well, he could have exposed agents, right? He could have exposed people that we have working in the world for the CIA. Literally, the President of the United States has that authority. The President of the United States has the authority that if he wanted to, he could put a list of every fucking spy we have out there on the fucking TV and be like, these guys are all spies. Because he's the President of the United States. There's nobody, the reality is, while they may pretend, there is nobody within the national security apparatus that outranks the President of the United States. The director of the FBI does not outrank this director of the CIA. None of those directors outrank him. So the reality is, if the President of the United States has classified information, doesn't matter what he does with it, where he goes with it, he is the fucking ranking person with that classified information, okay? So they went after him for that, even though they have no cause, they have no statute, no cause, no nothing, no reason to go after him for that. And it's already been argued in, by the way, all that has also already been argued in the courts because Bill Clinton had classified tapes that he had in his fucking sock drawer. It's a sock drawer case, so go ahead and look at it. The courts have already said the President of the United States can do anything he wants with fucking classified information. The person who can't do that is anybody below the President. So anybody below the President. So if I'm the Director of Naval Intelligence and I take classified information home and I leave it on the fucking counter and my wife reads it, I'm in violation of the law and can be arrested. As the Director of Intelligence, if I'm the CIA Director and I take classified information and I leak it out to the public, I could be held accountable for that because I am not the President of the United States. If I'm the Vice President of the United States and I take classified information home and I don't know, leave it in my Corvette, my garage, my apartment downtown, I am in violation of the law and can be prosecuted by the law. Now, where's the difference? The difference is one was legally within his right. The other one actually violated the law. And what did the Department of Justice do? Nothing.
Well, what they said was he's too old and senile to stand trial.
But the problem with that statement is there is not a single precedent. There's not a single legal precedent that they are actually quoting. That's bullshit.
My point to saying that is Trump should just be like, everything Biden did, he was too old and senile, just dissolve.
Well, they may very well do that, but the reality is, if I am deemed mentally incompetent, okay? If I am deemed mentally incompetent, if the doctor over there deems me that I am mentally incompetent and I kill you, the Department of Justice is not going to go, well, it's because he's a retard. we can't really try him because he doesn't know any better. They're still going to try. Yes, there's going to be, once you get into court, there's going to be mitigating circumstances on how I am prosecuted, meaning I may end up in a state home or something like that versus being executed. But those are mitigating circumstances. You still prosecute. There are plenty of senior citizens that the Department of Justice has put in fucking jail for way less. So what that tells you is that was 100% politically motivated. So they were using politics. They were using fucking politics in order to run the Department of Justice, which should never be that way because, again, the letter of the law has to stand with them. If they are not equal in the administrative justice, meaning if they're willing to tip the scales in favor of one side or the other, and I don't care what side it is, whether it's the left or the right, if they're willing to tip the scales, then that means none of their laws apply. They don't apply. It's either equal justice under the law for everyone or fuck you, you don't matter.
What do you think about Trump said he's going to declassify the Martin Luther King and JFK stuff?
You know, here's the problem with all that stuff.
It's so old. Nobody's even alive anymore.
Here's the problem with all that stuff is the reality is anything within the JFK files and the Martin Luther King files that is relevant, like that would be relevant or that you could be actionable about. We probably already know about. It's already probably been released. And second, the time has been so long that there's no one to be actionable against anyways. And anything that would be damning to a point of action would have been scrubbed years ago. Like it would have been scrubbed years ago. So no, I don't care. I don't give a fuck about what happened 20 years ago, or 100 years ago. Let's talk about what's going on right now. Let's talk about the weaponization of these federal agencies against United States citizens. I mean, I don't, again, if you're a terrorist, you're a terrorist. But that's not how they're using any of the stuff that we've put in place to fight terrorism. They're not using it for fighting terrorism. They're using it to go after fucking moms at PTA meetings. So fuck that.
What's your predictions for the next week? We're on day 3 right now. What do you think next week will look like by now?
I mean, I think that all the slow runners, because under Joe Biden, there's been a political pace that is just fucking barely moving because he takes every other day off and he's in bed by 4:00 every day. So the apparatus, when you think about the news cycle and the apparatus that follows that kind of stuff, has also slowed way the fuck down.
I think you'll see CNN pick back up. I mean, this is
that's what I'm saying. I think that the apparatus has slowed down, and they weren't ready for the op tempo that Trump was going to put. So it's going to probably take 2 weeks for them to catch up and be like, again. Oh shit, what happened last night? You know what I'm saying? And so I think you're going to see some faces change as far as like who's actually reporting the news, because the old crew's not going to be able to keep up. No, because the old crew just has their rhetoric, and they're not going to be able to keep up.
Somebody said on the live last night, like, if you're looking for a job, you better hurry up and get one because the job market's about to be flooded with all these bureaucrats they're firing, right? All these federal employees. But I wouldn't hire one of those motherfuckers. Like, that's a known fucking entity. That is a motherfucker who has worked at 50%. That's the last fucking dude. I'm looking to hire 5 people to keep the best of the 5.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't think them firing those people is going to make a difference.
You don't think that's going to put them out into the wild?
Well, it's going to put them out in the wild, but I don't think suddenly the job market's going to be like, oh my God, there's too many qualified baristas.
I don't think
there's too many qualified baristas. We already have college grads that are baristas, so I don't think that's going to be a big deal. I mean, I think they're just not ready for the op tempo that Trump wants to throw at them.
So pick 3 things. What do you think? 3 major things that you'd like to see happen in the next 30 days.
3 things. I would like to see Miley brought up on treason charges.
Oh shit! Okay.
I would like to see him brought up on treason charges. Whether look.
Do you think they're publicizing that shit if it happens?
What Miley did? Okay. What Miley
I
did.
I called my contact in
Yeah,
China.
but what Miley did may have very well been innocent. Okay, we don't know the details except from what came out of his mouth. And if what came out of his mouth was true, then he should be tried for treason. That is a treasonous act that he committed. If it's more nuanced than that, like for example, I'll just give you an example. I'm Miley, okay? Of course, Miley is going to have a contact in China. Of course, Miley's going to have a contact in Russia. They all, even the next secretary is going to have contacts in all those places, okay? It's just like the red phone sitting on the fucking president's desk. He can call Putin anytime he wants and just bullshit about the fucking, what the ladies are doing. That's why that phone's there, okay? I'm going to have a contact. And maybe, like, I could even see Miley being innocent if this is how that conversation went. Mr. President, I'm going to contact my contact in China. I'm going to let him know that if anything's about to go down, that we're going to let him know, that I'm going to call him and let him know that something's about to go down, so that the Chinese think that I am in there. You know what I'm saying? That literally could be the case. But when you, even if it was the case in Miley's head, if he never informed the President of the United States of what his intentions were, it's treason. It's motherfucking treason, and he should be tried for it.
Fuck up before Biden's died.
It's treason, and so he should be tried for treason. Whether he gets convicted or not, I think that Miley should be fucking convicted of treason, or not convicted. I think he should go through a military court-martial and go up for treason. There's I think a big possibility that might really happen, because I don't know if did you notice they pulled his fucking pick at the Pentagon?
Mm-mm.
So all the secretary, all the, was he SecDef or? Oh fuck, I don't care. But they all have their portraits in the Pentagon, and so you can walk down the hall, and every one of them, from the first to the last, you see their portraits. His portrait was pulled.
Interesting. Where is he currently?
I don't know. Probably in China. That's where I'd go if I was you, Miley.
Right,
You're about
number two.
Number two. I think he needs to really go after what's going on with the energy sector in the United States, which I know he's gonna, because
I think that's happening right now.
I know he's gonna, but I think number two should be energy. He should free up the energy like it was under his administration in the first place, and because again, if you're a liberal and you're crying and you're going, well, he's president now, how come the price of eggs haven't gone down? Jesus Christ.
The Post says, I've been standing at the grocery store the last 4 hours. How come? All that? Of course you have, because you don't have a fucking job.
But either way, there are things that have to be done in order for the price of eggs to go down, and one of them is energy costs. If energy costs down, the price of eggs are going to go down. The other thing too is, it's not just that. You have to understand that during the Biden administration, there was a total attack and assault on the manufacture of food. How many? Just
60%
go
of
ahead.
Manufacturing capacity is no longer online.
Go ahead and look at how many chickens were destroyed through the destruction by the federal government or the actual burning down of those facilities during the Biden administration. It is the reason why eggs are so expensive. So it's going to take a little bit of time, but I believe 100% that the price of certain goods are going to go down. Unfortunately, there are certain things that even the cost of fuel is not going to change, because I don't want to say corporations are greedy, but usually, when the thing gets to $10, it stays at $10.
Yeah, the price never comes back down.
But food is different, because the issue is so much
subsidized.
It's not that. Food is different because we can produce so much food. We can produce so much food that it creates competition within the market stream, and you have to lower your price of eggs, or you have to provide something else. Meaning, that's why fucking, when you see, grass-fed, farm-beefed, chicken eggs, they're more expensive because they put those labels on there to trick you into thinking it's more expensive, even though an egg costs the same no matter how you produce it.
Have you seen they said 75% of the food people buy actually goes to the landfill? Like they don't actually consume about 25% of it.
We throw a ton of food away. But the reality is if given the opportunity, and America farmed, like, I hate this thing. If America really farmed, I can't. It keeps coming up. If America farmed, like, really farmed the way we used to, we could provide 90% of the food for the entire world. So we overproduce, and so that's why the cost of food. That's why
but you
through
can't
the years
control
the cost
people.
of fuse has fluctuated.
If we farm the way we used to farm, you can't have such control over people. So what's your number 3?
What's my number 3? My number 3 is exactly what my number 3 is. The same thing that his number 3 probably is, and that is root out, identify every single government program that we're paying millions and millions of dollars for that does nothing for us, and kill it.
What do you think about him classifying cartels as a terrorist?
I think it's a bad move.
Why?
I think it's a bad move.
Why?
It's a bad move because right now we have a symbiotic relationship with the cartels in Mexico. The truth of the matter is nobody wants to admit this, but the cartels are actually in charge of Mexico, not the president. The president is solely elected as the mouthpiece for the cartels.
And a lot of people like the cartels. That's who's doing the roads. That's who's fucking feeding the children.
So the cartels are actually in charge of Mexico. So sending Delta Force into Mexico to take care of cartels is actually declaring war on Mexico. The other problem you have with that is the cartel, go ahead and forget about the fact that millions of illegal immigrants have been crossing the border for the last 4 years under the Biden administration and flooding every major city. Okay, forget about that. Forget about any semblance of Chinese special operators coming across the border, Iranian special operators.
They just caught a Russian dude.
But again, forget about any semblance of that. Forget about, like, the Russians could send 1,000 operators over. We could have 1 million motherfucking terrorists in cells across the United States. Okay?
Do you think we do?
No, we don't. So,
how many do you think there are?
I don't know, probably 8 guys. It's not what people think.
Okay.
It's not what people think. Again, those things are dangerous, right? They're dangerous. Having adversaries from around the world being able to walk into this country and establish cells within the United States is fucking dangerous. It's not a thing that we can just not recognize, and that's why we have a CIA and an NSA and all that, to identify those threats and take them out. Okay? That's dangerous. But it is not as dangerous as the footprint that the cartels have within the United States. The footprint and the established means of trafficking throughout the United States that the cartels already have. The reality is the cartel cells are in every single major city in the United States. The cartel cells are moving product all over the United States, everywhere within the United States. They do it every single day. They are in way more numbers than any fucking North Koreans or Russians or fucking Sunnis or whoever the fuck is trying to infiltrate. They are here in the United States doing that every single day. And guess what? They're fucking armed to the teeth. So to go to war with the cartel, to send Delta Force down and start using that system is to open up a war within the United States that I don't think we're ready for. Possibility to open up a war within the United States that we're not. And the only reason why I say that is because, again, it's exactly like if Democrats and Republicans went against each other. Okay. You don't really know who your neighbor is. Mm-hmm. You don't really know where the location of these assets are. You don't know. They're fucking everywhere. Like, they are everywhere within the United States. There's cartel that has a footprint and finger. Like almost contrary to popular beliefs, almost all the weed that's grown in California now is controlled by the cartel. So again, you're talking about first off, you're talking about a group of individuals because of the war that we have waged on the cartels for so long through political and law enforcement means. You're talking about cartels that are not like the cartels of old. They have no problem cutting people's heads off and hanging them in the streets. They do it every day in Mexico. More people have been killed in Mexico during our time in Afghanistan than fucking like 10 times more than Americans. There are more people being killed in Mexico City every day by cartels than anywhere else in North America. Okay? So now take those guys and send Delta Force in to go chop the heads off. It's not gonna play out the way we think it is.
Okay, so if that happens, we see a mission happen next week or whatever. Mm-hmm. They're gonna publicize it. Of course, they're gonna publicize it.
No, they wouldn't.
No,
Delta wouldn't publicize.
What do you think the next reaction? What do you think the counter to that would be?
It depends. It depends on how successful they are. Okay, let's say I'm just going to say the Willis cartel. They identify the Willis cartel. They identify the Willis compound. They go in under the cover of night like they do. They kill everybody on the fucking compound. They come back and nobody says anything. A message will be sent. But people will be hesitant to point fingers because they won't really know, right? Has the Mexican military stood up and done something? Is there some new asset that the U.S. law enforcement is? They won't really know. Now, if we do the Bin Laden thing and like, yeah, SEAL Team 6 did it, and there's a fucking workout video and there's a thing, then Coronado's going to have some problems. Going to have some serious problems. And Navy SEALs that are hanging out in bars are going to have some serious problems.
Interesting. Because
the cartel won't, the cartel, the people that are within that organization, if you're at the bottom rung, right? If me and you are working the streets for the cartel, you know how we get our street creds? Yeah. We get our street creds by fucking taking out some of the people that just fucking killed these guys. That's how we get our street creds.
I think
and the difference is
so intertwined that everybody's on their payroll at some capacity.
The difference is, as a country, we're used to being able to fight these wars. We're used to being able to fight these wars all over the world, where our families have not really been in danger. Our families.
This one's on our border.
This puts our families in danger. Like there was a thing where now, again, because politicians don't really care about Americans. This was brought up before under the Trump administration. The Trump administration did say that they were going to do this. The cartel's response was, then we're going to put a lethal dose of fentanyl in every fucking drug we send across the border.
Well, I mean, that would end that shit pretty quick.
America, you can say that, but America is not ready for the death toll that would involve.
All of its nurses.
The death toll that would involve of how many people would actually be killed. Like if you're fucking the head of the DEA and you could snap your fingers tomorrow and all the drug dealers and all the narcotics users in the United States died, it'd be a fucking scary place. It'd be a ghost town around here.
Sure it would. You wouldn't need DEA anymore.
You know more people. Yeah, you would. Because here's the thing that most people don't understand, that most people can't comprehend is, you know why we have never won the war on poverty? Not because we haven't put billions of dollars in it and because they've been scamming everybody. Not because of that. The reason why we never win the war on poverty is because every day someone new is being born into poverty. Every day someone new is using drugs.
The mindset, yeah.
So again, even if you killed every drug user today, tomorrow there would be some new drug users.
Gotcha.
So I don't think this is I don't think that is a viable solution. The real viable solution is to create a stable. The real viable solution, and this is contrary to a lot of stuff I say, is to create, through the State Department, a stable Mexican government that can operate within the laws of its country, enforce those laws, and minimize the amount of influence that the cartels have in their regions.
Well, you would remove most of it if you just legalized all drugs.
No, you wouldn't. The cartels would still be running it. It's just like it's just like I just said. They legalized weed in California. 90% of the weed grown in California is grown under the thumb of the cartels.
Interesting.
So it wouldn't all the cartels would do if you, again, it's like laundering money, right? If I'm a drug kingpin, what do I want to do? I want to open up a nail salon, a laundromat, a car wash, a restaurant. Because all of those businesses are high cash volume businesses, and I can launder all my drug money through those businesses to be legal. Okay? If I legalize drugs, the cartels are already still invested, and the cartels still have billions of dollars to influence the legalization of drugs. So if I legalize drugs, if I say all drugs are legal, you're just going to buy legal heroin from the cartels.
Interesting.
That's all it's going to be.
Last thing to touch on here.
Okay.
There's some theories. I heard Fasella bring this up. He said, what if Trump is actually just put in place, he's part of the oligarchy, just put in place to alter in digital ID so we can completely control everybody, right? Because he's brought together Bezos, Zuckerberg, Elon Musk, all these top Altman from OpenAI and shit. So he's talking about creating between all of them now, creating this super AI. We know that they're bringing back online 3 Mile Island. I think they're bringing back online San Onofre, all these nuclear power plants that have been shut down, but they're using the electricity, the energy, for data centers.
I would say that, again, if you're thinking Donald Trump is some sort of Manchurian candidate so that we can be absorbed into the digital world, it doesn't matter who's president. We're getting absorbed in the digital world. It doesn't matter. It's because it's financially benefit. Donald Trump did not bring Elon Musk, Bezos, the CEO from fucking TikTok. He didn't bring those people together to create some sort of fucking oligarchy. Those people are coming to him. They went to him because of the policies of the last administration. Because the policies of the last administration sucked so bad that they realized, hey, if we want to continue to make fucking billions and billions of dollars, and we want to continue to strengthen America, because the reality is, like, fucking Elon knows. Elon knows because of where he's at. The stronger America is, the more money and power he will have. Okay? Because he's not lazy. Elon's not fucking lazy. When you look at, when you look at the Rockefellers, right? Their great-grandfather worked his ass off to become what he was. The rest of them were fucking lazy, and that's why jobs went offshore. Yeah. That's why, because they had to make money that they didn't have to work for anymore. When
Elon Musk came into Twitter, what'd they say? He fired 90%?
Yeah, and Twitter's still working.
90%. Imagine how many other... Well, I believe that the world is that way. If you fired 90%...
Well, the problem is... The problem that you run into... Because I get where you're going with this.
Well, we have the problem inside.
I get where you're going with this. If you fired 90%... 10%, no matter how hard you work, no matter how brilliant you think you are, will get eaten alive by 90%.
Yeah, we still have to maintain low performance because four of them equals one person, and I don't have that one person.
I am 100%. I am 100% against. Like, I think, like places like McDonald's, or first off, I think McDonald's. Walmart, not at the corporate level, but Walmart at the store level, Burger King, any fast food place, I think those places should be exempt from the type of regulations that are being put on them in like individual states, where like a living wage.
Yeah.
McDonald's is not supposed to provide a living wage.
Yeah.
McDonald's is
If you have to ask me about a living wage, you're not a person that's going to earn.
McDonald's
a
is a starter job. Same thing with Walmart. So I am very against. I'm 100% against any automated checkout system. Those systems should be fucking garbage-tized. Walmart should be incentivized to hire the lowest, not the lowest rung, but again.
Do you know what's currently happening with Walmart?
I don't know.
It's happened in yours. It's happening over here right now. There's going to be a two-year remodel. What they're doing is the goal that was stated was by 25. They're a little behind schedule right now. They want to split.
COVID.
They want to split all Walmarts into two. There's going to be a left side and a right side. You as a consumer will only have access to half the store. The other half of the store is mirrored, and it's all cart people for delivery.
I mean, whatever. But
Dude, I was at Walmart.
Because here's the thing about that. Again, all cashier places should be individual people because there should be.
Have you seen that most of the lanes are open in Walmart again?
Yeah, because of the theft.
Yeah,
the theft is outrageous through that checkout. So all cashiers should be in every store. And I do like the cart thing. Like if they were gonna, here's the thing: if Walmart tomorrow said we're not gonna have any more foot traffic, it's just gonna be carts. Now, as long as Walmart only use people to push those carts, then I would be like, Walmart, you go. But the minute Walmart decides that they're gonna fucking put robots in there that'll push those carts, then I would be like, Walmart needs to be fucking shut the fuck down, because you have to provide some sort of income for everyone, even you may not like it, but you have to provide some sort of income for everyone, because if you're not providing income for everyone, then you're subsidizing those people. It's better that they have a fucking job at Walmart, goddamn, at the checkout line, moving slow, than me having to pay higher taxes because that person is at home watching Oprah fucking eating Twinkies.
There was a place, I don't remember what city it was, and it said to be on welfare, you have to show up one weekend out of the month, and you have to do community service. And they said that they lost like fucking over half of their welfare people overnight. And a lot of it was said that it's because you had people that were on welfare 2, 3, 4 times, and they couldn't physically show up because they were in fact the same people duplicating. So yeah, I mean, stop feeding motherfuckers that won't feed themselves.
Well, you have to have you can't create the problem is people want to wear the shoes that they're wearing. They never want to put the shoes of another person on their feet, and you can't create a world. The Elysium world where everybody on the Elysium is wealthy and works and does everything, that's at the cost of the rest of the world. And if you're not providing goods and services but also being able to help uplift the other part, then I don't think because you think about even the reality of it, right? You talk about your employee ranks, right? You have taken a bunch of people that had no real, there's some, anyways, you've taken a bunch of people that have had no real job prospects in Camden, Tennessee, for whatever reason, whether they were too old, drug problems, legal problems. You have taken a bunch of those people in Camden, Tennessee, and you have taken them out of poverty. You've taken them out of poverty.
Yeah.
So
I need 50 more of them.
But the reality is, for the community of Waverly, for the community of Camden, you have created wealth in people that generationally probably would not have had any money.
Here's the craziest thing about that statement. Of all those people sitting in there on payroll, 1, maybe 2 live in Camden. The rest of them all drive 45 minutes or more to come and fucking work here. I know what you're saying. I'm
using that as an example, but the reality is, whether you like it or not, are providing a service that helps people that otherwise.
Yes, absolutely. And they have grandkids.
And that's the way the corporation should work.
Me paying them takes care of those grandkids, because those fucking kids are so fucking disconnected and so unable to fucking survive in the real world. They are not taking care of their grandkids. The fucking grandmothers in there are taking care and raising. And maybe that'll fix that. Maybe it will skip that fucked up generation.
It probably won't.
And maybe those kids will be, fucking.
It probably won't. But
more
again,
serviceable.
What I'm getting at is, you can pick any one of them. I don't care. You can pick any one of them. The lifestyle that they were the life that they were living before, compared to the life that they're living now, that they have a job here, is better. It's going to be hands down better for them and for their family, because they have this stable thing. Now,
the environment's better. Like if you went to another sewing job within an hour of here, 2 hours, 3 hours, that's a fucking giant ass factory. The lighting's fucked up. You're getting like at the level they work, they would not be high performance, so they're not getting high performance pay. They're going to make less money actually at those other factories than I pay. If
they even have a job. Mm-hmm. And so if you think,
because you lose, like when you go work at Carhartt, the first 90 days you're there, you miss 1 day, you're fucking terminated.
Like if you look at it just from a tax base, and I know that they come from all over the place, but we'll just talk about Camden because that's the locality. If you just look at it from the city of Camden perspective, right? It's better.
Yeah, 10% sales tax.
It's better because now they're buying stuff in town. Maybe they're buying stuff that just a few years ago they were considered a luxury thing that they couldn't afford. Now they're buying it. Now they're paying sales tax within the county.
Yeah.
So it's better for the county. It's better for everybody to work. To have a major corporation like Walmart, who sucks all the money out of the municipality.
None of that stays in Camden.
None of it stays in Camden. To have a major corporation like that be here.
I'll bet you if we looked into it, they're not even paying that 10% sales tax that's fucking generated in
But
Camden.
to be here in this area and then also not employ anyone from this area, no cashiers, no fucking cart pushers, it's all goddamn automated. Fuck that. Why would you allow that in your city?
Yeah. Dollar General's destroying places right now. Have you seen all that? They're getting sued left and right.
Well, because Dollar General, when you want to put a Dollar General in every street corner, you're going to piss people off.
Dude, we have 5 of them within 15 minutes.
The crazy thing about Dollar General is that I think is how many times when's the last time you've been in a Dollar General?
I've been in Dollar General once ever.
Okay, I go into Dollar General all the time. If there's a thing that I need that is like a throwaway thing, I'll go to Dollar General.
I feel dirty when it's like going to a porn store.
No, it's not that. I mean, there's a Dollar General out by on the 13 by the interstate. It's nice. Like it's super nice. But I go to the one in Waverly, and I'm amazed at how many times I've been in that store. Like I've been in that store where I've been walking around the store, and I'm like,
yeah, there's one employee.
And you'll see somebody in the back like putting toilet paper up, and you're like, I just walk out. I can just walk out with my peanut butter. It's today free day. I'm amazed at how I get what they're trying to do is they're trying to minimize.
So what they said is happening is they come into a place and they have low prices.
Yeah, but they charge you regular.
So they have low prices, and then as soon as those other companies, it drives the other businesses out of business, then they raise their prices. But what they have happening right now is the advertised price on the shelf is not the ring-up price, and they're getting sued left and right. Walmart's about to go to I don't remember what they call it, but basically peak hours. So during busy hours, the prices go up, and the prices get lowered in off-peak hours, just like Uber. During peak traffic hours, you pay more for a ride than when there is not a high demand. And that's what they're starting to do. Walmart has a lot of stuff going on right now. There's tons of reporting on it. The shelf says this price, but it rings up at a completely different price. And when you look, your bill is actually off by $70, $100, depending what you bought. So,
yeah,
right. we gotta do
Patreon.
What?
There was just a school shooting an hour ago in Antioch.
Oh, shit.
A kid came in, shot 2 kids, killed one of them, wounded the other, and then killed himself in the cafeteria.
Well, that's tragic.
They don't know the race yet. They haven't posted anything.
Antioch. That's in Memphis.
45 minutes Nashville.
Nashville's Antioch. Jelly Roll was from Antioch. Interesting. Is it going to be boy or girl again, or what's it going to be? SSRIs. Here comes all your we got to ban gun shit. So didn't something just happen in the Supreme Court or something that was voted like 9-0, like in favor of like pro-gun stuff? Didn't something just happen? I haven't watched any of those videos.
I haven't seen any of them. I don't watch them anymore because it's usually clickbait.
All right, guys, if you're listening to this, this is members only. You pay $10 to be on this to get these podcasts this week or next week. They do come out to the public about 90 days after the fact. We have a Patreon, which is question and answer. You guys ask the questions, we answer them on the video, and that's what we're going to do right now. I do a live on YouTube every night at 9 o'clock. You jump on, we show you what we built through the day, if you're interested in product, and then we have a conversation about whatever you want to talk about. We do a video series called Full Build. We show you how we build these things, and I teach you how to do them on video. And then we're about to shoot a video today on PCCs. What's the difference between a subgun and a PCC?
Well, a subgun is automatically going to be a machine gun.
Got it. So it's a real one, whereas a PCC is a civilian version.
It's just a pistol. Yeah.
Got it. So we're going to show you the micro rigs, the subgun micro, and Jeff has 100 different PCCs. So we're going to show you everything that fits in these.
I have them all.
All of them. We're going to jump over on Patreon. You can join over there at SOE Tactical Gear. Redcon1, if you like their products. I love their products. I use a lot of them. Code SOE will get you 20% off your order. EMP Shield will protect you from global, solar mass ejection, EMP, all that type of stuff. $50 off on your order by using code SOE. And if you use any of my Amazon links, that'll give us a small percentage back. We're going to actually build an Amazon store where you can see the items that we actually use. And we'll see you guys next week.
Built the thing from the bottom, they tore it down.